Whoops, my intro video.
Welcome to Between the Lines from First and Long College Football, our weekly best bets in college football betting. And now your hosts, Marcus and Mason.
What's going on, college football fans? Welcome back to the First and Long College Football Show. I'm Marcus. That's Mason. This is Between the Lines. This is our best bets against the spread in college football for week 4. What's up, Mason? Welcome back. How'd you do? How'd you do last week? I didn't keep up with yours. I was over 500 again, my friend. Did you keep the momentum going with your week 3 bets?
Had a slight stall technically, I guess. If you're just looking at my picks, I went 4 and 5. We were 1 and 2 in our locks. But this was the first week that I've been under 500, and to go one game under, I mean, I'll take it. You know, still sitting at 5 over on my picks for the year, and on the money line, I did really well. I hit 3 out of 4, was up 3.95 units on the money line. It was a weird week where, like, in every other pool that I'm in where I make picks, you know, the ESPN fantasy football, I've got a couple of splash leagues that I'm in. I made a lot of really good picks and picked a lot of underdogs to win. I think Arkansas kind of let me down. That was kind of one that I had pegged as a underdog that actually on 2 parlays I would have hit if Arkansas won. It would have been a really nice week. But for some reason on the show I didn't do as well. But a good solid week overall, and obviously a very eventful week from just a viewer standpoint and watching college football. Very exciting. But I'm back. I've been on vacation for a week, so that's why some of the videos, you know, we just haven't done as many videos, haven't been able to this past week, but ready to get back into it and watch some football tomorrow. Well, tonight, technically. We've got a couple of games tonight, but obviously bulk of it being tomorrow. Ready to get back into it and jump back into the swing of things with you, Mark.
Yep, absolutely. Got a couple of breakdowns out there this week, but just absolutely swamped. And that's right. We're going to jump back on the train. We're going to get it back going this week. So y'all make sure that you are subscribed. Hit the like button for us real quick. Good morning to all of you out there in the college football world. I went 5 and 4 in week 3 against the spread, and I was plus 3.45 units on the money line. So overall, a great money-making week, and that brings my total to 12 and 11 against the spread. So I'm over 500 officially against the spread this year, and plus 3.15 units for the year. So I'm on the winning side of things. Let's see if I can keep it going this week, and we'll make up for a couple of those games that we didn't get to break down this week by talking about them. Right now, we'll give you our quick synopsis on the games. Best bets. Here we go. Let's talk about the big ones first. A game that's been talked about a ton this week, Texas Tech at Utah. I'm going to go ahead and throw my 2 cents out there because I've already thrown it out there on the internet, so I'll make it quick. But because this is one of the games that we were able to break down, or that I was able to break down this week. Texas Tech has been an extremely, really in any metric you want to look at, it's been a really, really good offense this season. But if you look at the opponents that they have played, you'd be hard-pressed to find a team in the country that's played an easier schedule than the Red Raiders have so far this season. That's going to change this weekend. And somebody who's also had a really, really good offense is actually Utah this season. The over-under, last I saw on this one, was set at like 56.5. So Vegas is obviously anticipating, and the betting public is anticipating, a high-scoring game in this one. Look, I think there's 2 pretty good quarterbacks in this one. I think that Utah, from what I've heard, and we're going to see it in action. You know, Utah hasn't really played anybody great this year either, but we're going to get to see that offensive line for Utah that I'm hearing is one of the best in the country go against what has been a very, very good pass rush for Texas Tech. But pass rush doesn't always equate to run stopping. And I don't know that Texas Tech is going to be able to slow down the rushing attack of Utah in this one, especially behind those big uglies for Utah. And just beyond that, we know what kind of brand Kyle Whittingham and this company brings to the table. I mean, they're extremely physical. Offense has been the problem the last couple of years, namely because Cam Rising has sat out. Well, the Cam Rising era is gone. You bring in a new quarterback from New Mexico. You bring in back the offensive coordinator from New Mexico. And I like where this offense is trending. So, and that's not even to mention the defense for Utah that I think is really, really good. It's always really good. Give me Utah minus 3.5. I think they can win this thing by 6, 7, 8 points.
Yeah, I've actually got a -3 for you, so that'll help you out there, and maybe at worst get a push. I think I'm on the same side as you here, Mark. I'm going to lock this in with you in agreement. Utah's only given up 1 touchdown all year, and surprisingly, it was UCLA, which if you don't know, they just fired their head coach, and they are in the search. They hopped on the coaching carousel, so to speak. But Utah's defense has been extremely solid. They're 3-0 against the spread so far this year. And actually, surprisingly, they've given up 1 touchdown all year, but the over has hit twice in their games and the under has hit only once because their offense has scored so many points. I mean, 43 points against UCLA, 63 against a nobody. And then offense sputtered a little bit last week against Wyoming to start the game, but they picked it back up and were able to put 31 on the scoreboard. Look, I think that Texas Tech is a really good team. But I also feel like they're a trendy team this year. They're trending upwards. They're starting to kind of win some games that they maybe, wouldn't win so much in the past. This is a different animal with Utah. Utah's been here. They've been a proven program year in and year out. And they're my pick to win the Big 12. And to me, Texas Tech is another stepping stone towards that direction. I think Utah wins this one especially with it being a home game. I think that they could easily win this game by 10 plus points. I think it's a 2 to 3 score game win for the Utah Utes. And I'm excited to watch it. I think the only thing that gives me pause on this one is it's at like 10 o'clock local time for Utah. And it's like, man, could you have any worse of a home field advantage than playing at 10 o'clock? Like, I think that's just pretty ridiculous, with it being this is the big noon kickoff game of the week. I don't feel like these teams should have to play that early. That just completely sucks the home field advantage out of it, which is a huge part of college football. But Utah, they'll figure it out. They'll get it done. And, Texas Tech, they got to play early too. So it's not from the standpoint of like your timing and your body clock and all that, there's no advantage. But, obviously when the fans can get a little bit more into it and they're not drinking mimosas and Bloody Marys heading into the game and they can get onto the hard liquor, I think you get a little bit more of a home field advantage that way. So disappointed to see that, but I'll be excited to watch this one at noon.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be a big one. Selfishly, I like it in noon as somebody who, I like them all spread out, but I as a Utah fan, if I was a Utah fan, I would not like that very much at all. Auburn at Oklahoma. This is a very, very interesting matchup here. I've got Oklahoma to cover here, man. I like Oklahoma, and last I saw it was 7.5. If you can get that at a 7, I think you.
I got a 6.5 actually, but it was just at minus like 122. But I'm taking that.
Yeah, that's some nice insurance there. And then if you win by a touchdown, you're not pushing even; you're still winning your bet. Mm-hmm. So I like that. Look, I'm not believing in Auburn yet, man. I mean, I'm gonna have to see. I'm gonna have to see it. I don't believe in Auburn's offensive line. And look, when I say I don't believe in it, I'm saying that Oklahoma is right now at the forefront of the SEC, and so when we're talking about I don't believe in this or that with Auburn, I'm talking about it in a tone that is reflecting my thoughts on them making the college football playoff or how they compare to teams that I think can make the college football playoff. And I think Oklahoma is one of those teams. I think Oklahoma's got a really good shot at making the college football playoff this season, barring, some crazy injury. I saw the running game get a little bit better last week against Temple. For Oklahoma, I'm interested to see if they can carry that over into this game. But I'm not a big believer in Auburn's defense at this point. The best part of the offense is the wide receiver room that you can't seem to get the ball to with Jackson Arnold. So I don't see a world in which Jackson Arnold is able to scramble his way to victory here on the road at his school from last year against his ex-head coach, who, by the way, is running a top 5 defense in the country at this point in Oklahoma. If you've been under a rock for the last 2 years, this ain't Lincoln Riley's Oklahoma, man. I mean, these guys are out there not only playing solid defense, but they are out there punishing people. And I don't expect this weekend to be any different. I don't think there's a lot of ill will towards Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma fans, but I can almost guarantee you that those guys on the field are going to feel somewhat abandoned by him, right? After last year, and they're not going to be pulling any punches. That's for sure. I think you see Oklahoma go out there and really put it on Auburn this weekend. I like Oklahoma by about 2 touchdowns here.
I agree. I'm in a lock agreement with you for the second time so far on the show today. For a lot of the same reasons. I think Oklahoma is, like you said, the best team in the SEC right now. They're playing like the best team in the SEC. Top 10 caliber offense, top 10 caliber defense, very balanced. Love what Mateer brings. He's for my pick, he's the Heisman favorite right now. I don't know if Vegas agrees with that. I don't really keep up with Heisman odds, but I would assume that he's probably pretty high up there, if not number 1 overall.
Let's take a look at that.
I think that this is a game. Okay, so we got Carson Beck at number 1. That's a little bit interesting. Don't hate it, but John Mateer up there for sure. And I think this game is one of those games where if you win, you show out, have a decent game, like it could propel him past Carson Beck potentially this week. So to me, if you're telling me that you've got a Heisman winning quarterback potentially and possibly the best defense in the SEC, that's the recipe for a wagon for this year. And I'm hopping on. I think that OU has got a really good chance this year to do something special. And Auburn, while I do like some of the pieces that they have, in particular at wide receiver, this Oklahoma defense is for real. And they, so far this year, the under has hit in all 3 of their games. Has a lot to do with the defense, obviously playing like just lights out all year long. So I'm gonna hop on the under 47.5 here as well. I think that there's a really good chance that this Auburn offense just sputters. I mean, Jackson Arnold is not completing passes past 10 yards downfield. And is that by design? Is that, because Hugh Freeze is just trying to get him introduced to this offense? We were saying the same thing about Gunnar Stockton up until, he faced Tennessee last week. So does that have something to do with it? Because the only game that Auburn has had to play where they really had to get up for it was against Baylor in week 1. And obviously a new quarterback in a new system, you're not opening the entire playbook to them in week 1, but in week 4, potentially. So, there's a chance that this offense gets going, and it just makes me makes me look like a fool for taking this underplay. But I feel like I know what I've got out of this Oklahoma defense. It seems a little bit more proven, and so I'm gonna lean on the defense to get me the cover, the -6.5, and then also I'm gonna take the under 47.5. Again, leaning on this defense, riding it all the way until the wheels fall off.
Uncle Glenn in the comment section says, "Okay, I'll tell Grandpa you are both on board against Auburn at Breakfast Club." A shout out to Uncle Glenn and Pops and how about a shout out to the whole Breakfast Club? How about that?
There you go.
Appreciate you guys. Yeah, I think Oklahoma's sitting pretty this weekend. Look, Auburn wants to come out and run the football, man. Which, again, it's weird. The identity of this Auburn offense is really weird, man, because you've got this stable of wide receivers that's, I mean, they should, in theory, be able to get behind the defense, but you don't have anybody that can get them the football. And with Auburn wanting to come out and run the ball, I just don't see anybody successfully running the football against Oklahoma this season. I mean, I just can't. I just can't imagine that. Maybe deep into the playoffs when you run into one of these, Miami offensive lines or something with a Mark Fletcher running the ball or something like that. Maybe then, but I just don't see it out of this Auburn offensive line group, man. I don't see any chance in hell that they're able to grab traction. All right, so we're in agreement so far. All right, well then I'll probably lose you on this one. Michigan at Nebraska. This is not a game we got to break down this week, but it's Michigan who goes on the road to Nebraska this week with a freshman quarterback, a guy who doesn't have a ton of starting experience. And I think Nebraska's got a pretty solid defense. I think both of these teams have a very solid defense, which is going to lead me to my first play. Under 46.5. I think this is going to be super low scoring here. I think whoever wins this game, I think it'd be realistic to even say like 17-14, 21-17. I mean, I would not be surprised at all to see a very low scoring matchup here in this one. Look, tons of respect for each of these teams' defenses. And I think Nebraska can figure out just enough to get it done offensively. I'm not some huge Dylan Raiola fan necessarily. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks that are worse, that would leave you worse off. But I'm going to take the more experienced quarterback here. I think the defenses are pretty similar to one another. I'm just going to take that guy that's got a little more experience, and I'm going to take the home team as the underdog here. Give me Nebraska plus 1.5.
I like it. I think you're on the right side of this. I've just been burned by this Nebraska team too many times. If they turn the corner here and actually win this game in upset fashion at home, I'll change my tune here a little bit. But I got to see it. I got to see it from Matt Rule and company. I got to see it from Dylan Raiola. More importantly, we saw him in week one, just really not impress for the most part. And this is a prove it sort of week here for the entire offense. I think for Nebraska, which has actually been surprisingly pretty good. They ranked 12th in the country in total yards per game at 545 yards per game. That's pretty solid. I don't really care who you're facing. That's a pretty decent offense. Cincinnati being the hardest opponent that they faced all year. That came in week one where they were only able to put up 20 points. But a decent offense coupled with a solid defense, and I do feel like this is a pretty good defense. I like the underplay here a lot. I really do. But I think that Nebraska, this is a game that they should win. I'm actually kind of surprised that they're not favored in this matchup, just given what we've seen from Michigan and the offense so far. And while I have the highest respect and belief in Bryce Underwood, I think that he's a fantastic freshman quarterback. he's a freshman quarterback, right? Playing in his fourth game now. They're going to have some looks. They're going to have some stunts on defense for Bryce Underwood, hopefully playing a lot of a zone defense on the back end to just make him think, make him try to, get an idea of what's going on. If they come out there, if Nebraska comes out there and tries to play man defense, I think he's going to carve them up. But if they play a little bit of zone, give him some different looks, show man, but then play zone, I think that it could be it could be a pretty disastrous day for Underwood. And I don't have a play on it. But I do think that Nebraska is the play here for the most part.
Yeah, I think Underwood has got all the arm talent in the world and everything. I just don't think he knows how to play quarterback at this level yet, which is normal. And I'm also not a believer in the playmakers for Michigan on the outside. I mean, Samaj Morgan, if that's your best option, yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in your offense, but all right, let's keep it going here. South Carolina at Mizzou. Hearing some murmurs that Lenora Sellers is possibly going to be able to make it back. And the murmurs that I'm hearing is through the betting community, just because of, some big money that's came in on South Carolina here of late. And I'm going to fade that because a trusty source of mine does these simulations, right? These 10,000 game simulations. I brought them up on this show a lot over the last couple of years. In a 10,000 game simulation, the average outcome is Missouri winning this game by 13 points. And that's with Lenora Sellers playing. Mm-hmm. So if he doesn't play, this is an absolute slam dunk because Luke Doty, is not a quarterback, man. He's not even listed as a quarterback at this point. He's been listed as a wide receiver. But this guy's not any good. So it's either Lenora Sellers and maybe South Carolina's able to keep it within a couple touchdowns, or it's Mizzou blowing this thing out. And we all know how Mizzou is, man. If they get a chance to blow you out, they're going to blow you out. Drinkwitz is not going to pull any punches if he's got you down on the canvas. He's going to keep throwing them at you. And just beyond all of that, the prospect of this defensive front for Mizzou going up against that offensive line for South Carolina, that's really what gives me the most reprehension about this matchup for South Carolina. That the offensive line, it looks worse than last year. And last year we started off the season saying, oh my gosh, this is a really bad offensive line for South Carolina. And it got better as the year went on. I will say that. But I think this one might be worse, man. And that's really unfortunate, I think, for Lenora Sellers. Just looking at what South Carolina's done offensively against some of the teams that they played, and then comparing that to what some of the other teams around the country have done to those same teams, it's just not adding up that South Carolina's got a very good offense right now. So I'm going to take Mizzou to cover this thing. I saw it at 9.5 this morning. I think they cover that pretty easy. You see a 9 out there?
I don't. I'm locking in the 9.5 with you. Missouri so far this year is 3-0 against the spread. Yep. That's not some crazy analysis. The reason behind that, though, is they've had really good quarterback play out of Bo Pribula. If you haven't watched Bo Pribula play so far this year, take the opportunity to watch him play against South Carolina's defense, which is pretty good. I think that they're a decent defense. They're not as good as they were last year. I think that's pretty much proven at this point. But this is a solid defense, and Bo Pribula is playing like a guy who's going to play on Sundays. I'm telling you, this guy is for real. Dude can sling it, man. We knew he was a good runner, and then we watched him play so far this year, and he has got a nice arm, nice ball, tight spiral, just sits in the pocket, great footwork. I'm anxious to see what he does with this game to add another notch under his belt, another win under his resume, potentially. And then on the flip side, I mean, South Carolina starting to reel. You could see in the game last week against Vanderbilt, Shane Beamer looks completely flustered. He's a guy who is not going to hold back his words, not going to hold back his emotions on the sideline. I mean, he looks pretty lost right now, kind of like up in arms about everything. And
well, when Lenoris got hurt last week, you could tell that there was no backup plan because he was freaking pissed off, dude. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen him lose it like that. Dude was about to bust some blood vessels, and it was one of those. It was a stress reaction, is what it was. It wasn't any one like there was no reason to act like that. Like he literally spazzed.
Yeah, and for good reason. I think if Lenore Sellers isn't going, there's nobody there. Like, and it's kind of surprising because, and I forget the kid's name, but I feel like South Carolina either recruited. Actually, it's Aaron Nolan. They had a transfer come in from Ohio State. He was a top-rated quarterback. He should be a sophomore this year in year 2. Why are we not seeing him instead of Luke Doty? I'll have to dig into that a little bit more. I've been on vacation this week, so I haven't been able to dig into some of these games. But it's just surprising that we're seeing Luke Doty in this spot. Maybe we do see some Aaron Nolan in this one if Sellers isn't able to go.
What does that tell you about Aaron Nolan? Which he may be hurt. I don't know either. I mean, he could be hurt. I don't know. But last we saw Aaron Nolan, he didn't look very good. Wasn't an Ohio State spring game. He looked terrible. So that was the last time I saw him anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, I like Mizzou here. I'm taking the -9.5. I'm just going to fade South Carolina until the betting public kind of catches up to that. I think the under might be a solid play here just because of South Carolina's offense not being able to really go here. But, I just want to say they're just above middle of the pack in the SEC, which is a really good defense. Offensively, I think you got a top 5 quarterback in the SEC in Bo Pribula, maybe top 3 potentially, but we have seen some really good quarterback play out of some of these teams that we weren't expecting. And I think that Missouri is one of those teams where you got to start talking about them being a playoff team, especially if they win this game, which I think they will. This game looked like it would be a lot tougher early in the season, and this was one of the games that Missouri had circled saying, hey, we win this game, rest of our schedule looks pretty favorable. Well, here we are, Missouri looking at going 4-0 here this weekend and really setting themselves up to be a playoff team. I mean, if you look at their schedule, they don't have a ton left on that schedule to look at and be worried about, especially with, considering, what Alabama has looked like so far this year, and they could definitely be turning a corner. I think that they're looking better than they were in week 1, obviously. But Missouri's a team that could beat Alabama 100%. If Florida State can do it, I think Missouri can too. So that may be the only week on their schedule that I look at and say, hey, you probably want to try to win this one. But even if they don't, they could still be sitting at 10-2, 11-1 with a loss to Alabama and a pretty solid resume overall.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm going to dump a couple of 2 of them on you here because these 2 right here are more these are more just principal plays here. All right, I'm not going to go into this long synopsis on either one of these, but because nobody really cares about these games, but I feel like there's value in each one of them. Michigan State is laying 18.5, or excuse me, is getting 18.5 at USC. This is just about the time that USC is ready to fall apart.
Yeah.
And I like this guy, this coach at Michigan State, the guy from Oregon State. He's got the most basic name ever, and somehow I'm forgetting it. But I like this guy, and I like Chiles, Aiden Chile, whatever the hell his last name is. I like him pretty good too. But 18.5, I don't know, man. USC, there's nothing. Yeah, they're 3-0. They haven't played anybody. There's no reason to believe they're going to play enough defense to beat anybody by 18.5. And Michigan State is starting to get that reputation of we're just going to hang around. I think they're at that phase where, the old Bobby Bowden saying, first we lose by a lot, then we lose by a little, then we win by a little, and then we win by a lot. Well, right now, I think they're losing by a little is where Michigan State's at. And so I think this is a really big spread, and I like the plus 18.5. And then Purdue at Notre Dame, this it's kind of the opposite of that, Mason. That ain't enough points. 25.5 ain't enough. Notre Dame is ready to win a football game. They've played some stiff competition 2 games into the season, and they're winless. They're going to be ready to put it on somebody at home, and Purdue is about to be that somebody. And it just so happens that they're a nobody. So with that being said, give me Notre Dame minus 25.5. I think they can win by at least 28. And then, like I said, Michigan State plus 18.5. And I'm down to just one money line pick after that because I'm about to have to walk away here. What else you got?
I like that. Jonathan Smith was the coach you were thinking of. I mean, yeah, John Smith, the most basic name you could ever have. I mean, that's got to be like the number one name. Yeah, for 100%, especially in America. That's got to be like the number one of all names, of all men, in America. But I think that's a
Jingleheimer Smith.
Yeah, exactly. Literally a song about him. Yeah.
Damn,
I like that play. One other big game that I've got to play on is Miami versus Florida. I'm taking Miami at minus 8.5 because why not? You've got a Heisman front runner at quarterback and Carson Beck. Offense looks great. Defense looks great too. This is a team that I'm talking about in a similar vein as Oklahoma as a surprising bright spot for the college football landscape. A team that's very well balanced, playing like a top 5 offense, top 5 defense. And Florida, of course, is reeling. We've seen them really struggle. It's been very fun to watch as a Georgia fan. And so I'm taking minus 8.5. I think they could easily win this one by 9. This could also be, you talk about USC, it being the time of year where they start losing. This is the time of year where Florida starts giving up and not really giving a damn, opting out. I think we see it again here this week against an in-state rival in Miami. And then I'm taking Arkansas minus 7 versus Memphis. I just think that's way too low. The public is just not caught up on Arkansas, I guess, because they lost to Ole Miss in a really close game last week. That we just forget about Arkansas. I don't know. Really like Taylon Green, another quarterback that's playing lights out right now. I know this game is at Memphis, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. I'm taking the Razorbacks at minus 7. A touchdown. I think that they can do better than that. And then I'll go ahead and give you my money line pick for the week because I know you got to bounce. I'm taking SMU at plus 220 over TCU. This is, to me, it's more of a principal play. If I'm getting plus 2.2 units on a play here in a matchup that I think could definitely go in the Mustangs' favor, I'm going to have to take that. I'm going to take that risk, take that chance here because that's really good money. TCU is playing really well. I understand that. Could this be a spot where they get upset? I think it could happen because SMU is still a really good team as well. And if Kevin Jennings is kind of doing his thing on offense, then they could beat just about anybody.
I agree with you. I'm going to stay with Nebraska, man. I think Nebraska gets a big win this weekend. They're due for a big win. And I think they're, right now where Nebraska's at as a program, this would be considered a big win at home. As an underdog against Michigan. I think it's going to be a battle of the not so great offenses, but pretty daggum good defenses. So if you like bare fist fights, I think you're going to see one there in Nebraska this weekend. That's going to do it for us, folks. Thank y'all so much for watching. If you missed anything, hit that rewind button and drop us a little something in the comment section. Let us know what your best bet of the week is. But you've got ours for week 4, just like we've done every week so far this year. Good luck in the betting window and good luck to your teams this weekend. Y'all hit that like button on the way out. Thank you so much for watching the First and Long College Football Show.